In September 1999, Russia woke to a nightmare. Apartment buildings, places where families slept peacefully, exploded in the middle of the night. Entire structures collapsed in seconds, leaving behind mountains of concrete and dust. The explosions didn't just destroy buildings, they shattered the nation's sense of security. Russia had experienced violence before, but nothing like this. Nothing this coordinated, nothing this devastating. And nobody could explain why the attacks happened when they did, until later. To understand the chain reaction these bombings triggered, you have to look at Russia before the explosions. 1999 was a breaking point. The economy had collapsed the year before. People waited months for unpaid wages. Industry was failing. Crime was rising. Political power was fragmented and unstable. Many Russians had begun to lose trust entirely. They felt abandoned, unprotected, and ignored. In this environment of exhaustion and fear, the explosions struck with brutal precision, changing not just public emotion, but the entire political direction of the country. This was a nation ready for a turning point. It just didn't know that turning point was about to arrive in the darkest way possible. The first blast came on September 4th in Buyansk, targeting a building that housed military families. The explosion ripped through the structure with extraordinary force. Before the country could process what had happened, another bomb detonated in Moscow just days later. People were asleep as the building collapsed around them. Some never even had a chance to open their eyes. And then more bombs followed, 3 more buildings in 2 different cities. In less than 2 weeks, 4 apartment blocks across Russia were turned into ruins. Hundreds of civilians died. The country was paralyzed by fear. Official statements insisted that Chechen militants were responsible. But something didn't add up. As investigators examined the ruins, they found unusual patterns. Extremely large amounts of explosives, similar packing methods, identical timing across multiple cities, and some evidence that seemed strangely out of place. Journalists noticed inconsistencies in early reports. Survivors described details that contradicted official statements, and some local police officers claimed they were denied access to key areas of investigation. The more people looked closely, the more questions emerged. But the biggest shock was still to come. On September 22nd, residents in the city of Ryazan watched unfamiliar men carry sacks into the basement of their building. Suspicious, they called police. Officers tested the material. Their device signaled positive for explosives. The building was evacuated. Roadblocks were set up. Russia braced for another attack, until the next day, when the FSB announced that the sacks were sugar and the event was merely a training exercise. Except, there had been no announcement of a drill. Residents said the men acted like they were trying to avoid being seen. Police insisted their equipment identified real explosives, and no official documentation of the drill was ever released. For many Russians, this was the moment doubt became impossible to ignore. In the middle of this national panic, a relatively unknown politician suddenly became the central figure. Vladimir Putin. He projected strength, confidence, and control. Television networks amplified his message. He promised security and decisive action, the exact qualities a terrified population was desperate to hear. As the bombings continued, Putin's approval ratings skyrocketed. His speeches dominated the news cycle. He positioned himself as the man who would restore order in a nation collapsing under fear. Within months, he became prime minister. Shortly afterward, he rose to the presidency. Many analysts argue that without the 1999 bombings, Putin's meteoric rise would not have happened the way it did. Years passed, but the doubts never faded. Former intelligence officers claimed files had disappeared. Some investigators said they were blocked from crime scenes. Journalists reported intimidation, and multiple researchers pointed out gaps in the official story that were never addressed. International experts asked for independent investigations, but none ever took place. Even today, the Ryazan incident remains one of the most controversial events in post-Soviet history. The truth behind the 1999 bombings is buried under sealed archives, contradictory statements, and a political landscape transformed by the aftermath. The 1999 apartment bombings were not just a national tragedy. They were a turning point, the start of a new era of power, security, and centralized control. New laws expanded the authority of intelligence agencies. The media became more restricted. Political opposition weakened, and a new leader consolidated his influence over the country. To understand modern Russia, its politics, its conflicts, its direction, you must understand 1999. More than 20 years later, the questions remain unanswered, and the consequences are still unfolding. The events of that year did not just change Russia, they defined it.